What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are going to continue our coverage over the Reign of X era of X-Men comics, and we actually do pick up with Hellions number 7 and number 8. Now, remember, when it comes to Hellions number 7 and number 8, of course, it picks up right after X of Swords. Now, remember, the earlier books that we're going to cover in the Reign of X era of X-Men comics is kind of telling us what's happening with those characters or that team or that character after X of Swords, because X of Swords was a very big crossover, 22 chapters long. But either way, though, a lot of things happened in that crossover, and for the Hellions, they're all dead except Mr. Sinister. Because remember, in the middle of X of Swords, the Hellions team actually went into Arakko to steal the swords as a way to stop the Arakko army for being able to actually compete in the competition between Arakko and COPPA. But of course, we know the Arakko army, or champions of Arakko, were able to get their swords to actually fight against COPPA. Now, with all that being said and stuff, the real reason why they went into Arakko is because Mr. Sinister, he wanted to collect DNA samples of mutants from Arakko. Now, of course, the Hellions team did not know that. They really thought they were going to Arakko to help out their fellow X-Men characters. But in reality, they went into Arakko to kind of help Mr. Sinister get the DNA samples of the mutants who live in Arakko and Armeth to kind of build up his lovely DNA library. And so with that being said, after he was able to do that, the entire Hellions team was killed off because Mr. Sinister wanted to make sure that no one on the island of COPPA finds out what he went there for, which of course was building up his DNA library. And so with that, right now, the team is coming back to life. But the problem is, though, the question is, can the team actually trust Mr. Sinister? And on top of that, what do they remember? So getting into Hellions number 7, we actually do pick up with the Quiet Council. Now remember, the Quiet Council is basically like a group of mutants that come together to actually make big time decisions for the island. They're kind of like the governor system of the island. Now, of course, right now, they're listening to Sinister kind of cry about the idea that his entire team is gone. The Hellions, they're all dead because they all died in X of Swords. Now, some of them were killed off in Arakko by Arakko mutants, but some of them were killed off by Sinister because he wanted to make sure that his secret does not get out to the rest of the island of COPPA. And so right now he's pretending that he actually misses them because he has no idea that the rebirth system is actually back online. Because remember, when it comes to the X-Men, they're able to bring someone back to life. Now again, it's not them actually being brought back to life, it's a clone body being made for you. And then your memories are downloaded into your new clone body. And so it's not actually you being brought back to life, it's just a newer version of you being brought to life. Now, with all that being said, of course, it was shut down because in X of Swords, when Rockslide died, he came back corrupted because he died in Otherworld. And so the X-Men freaked out and shut down the rebirth process. But back in X Factor number 5, our last video, or 2 videos ago, we come to find out they were able to turn back on the rebirth system. And so the Hellions have been brought back to life, which is very huge, but Sinister doesn't know that. But this is the moment we come to find out what happens to mutants when they die in Arakko, when Arakko was actually in Armeth, that other dimension. Because we know in Otherworld, when they die and they come back to life, they're corrupted. But what happens to mutants who die in Arakko when Arakko is still in Armeth? Now, we actually do pick up with Emma Frost and Havoc. Now, remember, Emma Frost is not part of the team at all, but Havoc is. And the reason why, because back in Hellions #1, we established Hellions was a group of mutants who are just flat out crazy. But Havoc was not crazy. He was a character who's been around for so long. Yes, he has some crazy moments, but not insane crazy. But the reason why he's on Hellions is because back in Hellion #1, the dude went literally crazy and almost killed a bunch of people. And so, of course, they put him on the Hellions team. Now, Emma Frost is still trying to figure out why Havoc went so crazy, but of course to make sure that Havoc is actually sane, because he has to be sane to kind of gather information about Sinister and the Hellions team. Now, with all that being said though, Havoc died in COPPA, which is a good thing because he did not die in Otherworld nor Arakko. And so with him being brought back to life, nothing bad happens at all. He just comes back to life like normal and able to live again like he did before he actually died. Now, of course, the mutants that did die on Arakko were Nanny, Orphan Maker, and of course, Wild Child. Yes, I just love that name, Wild Child. But those three characters died on Arakko. And the big question is now, what happens to those mutants when they're brought back to life if they died on Arakko? Well, they come back a tad bit stronger, but of course, more vicious. They're more angry at the world. They're ready to kill people left and right if they're able to actually kill people. They are literally killing machines now. Now, Wild Child was already like that, but now he's even more like a killing machine, which makes things even worse. Now, Nanny wasn't really, but now she is. Now, Nanny and Wild Child are able to come back to life. Orphan Maker cannot come back to life yet. And the reason why, because when it comes to Orphan Maker, his mutant ability has not been identified yet or told to us as the readers. Now, Charles Xavier told us that when it comes to his mutant ability, it could technically lead into a lot of problems down the road. But again, we have no idea what that ability is. But the reason why he's not brought back to life yet, because originally, Orphan Maker had an armored suit made as a way to protect the world from his mutant ability. The problem is, though, when he died in Arakko, his armor was left in Arakko, meaning that they need to make a new suit for him, a new armor suit, before they actually bring him back to life. The problem is, though, only Nanny can do that, but the material she needs is on her ship. But her ship was taken by a group called the Right. And so right now, you have the Hellions getting ready to go on that mission to get that ship back so that they'll be able to actually bring back Orphan Maker. Now, of course, you do have the Hellions agree to go on this mission, not because Sinister wants them to, but in reality, it's them saying we have to help out Orphan Maker. Now, of course, you do have everyone wondering how in the world they all died except Sinister, because right now it does seem very sketchy to them, which they have the right to believe, because we know Sinister got some of them killed in Arakko, but the ones that were able to get over to COPPA, they were killed off by him. And so right now they're wondering, okay, Sinister, what are you up to? And of course they want to fight Sinister to get that information out of him, but that is the moment you actually have Psylocke step in to actually protect him. Now you're wondering, why in the world is Psylocke actually protecting him for? What does Sinister have on Psylocke? Now, this goes back to a storyline called Fallen Angels, but Fallen Angels took place at the very beginning of Dawn of X. Now, when it came to Fallen Angels, basically, it was a storyline where Psylocke got word that her daughter was alive, that her daughter's mind was technically downloaded into a system or to a god creature called a Poth. And so Sinister gave Psylocke the ability to go investigate with X-23 and Cable. Now, at the end of that series, of course, she was able to actually stop Apoth, but her daughter was kind of downloaded into the system of Apoth. And so right now, Sinister is able to kind of keep Apoth alive. And as long as Apoth is alive, so is the daughter of Psylocke. And so that is why she's being so protective over Sinister, to keep her daughter alive. Now, Fallen Angels was a very interesting series, and honestly, at the end of the day, I was kind of like, you know what? It could have been better. I saw why it got canceled and why most fans didn't care for it, but again, it was still kind of interesting. Now, as the Hellions are actually flying over to the location of where the ship of the nanny could possibly be at, that is the moment you have the team actually begin to question Psylocke. And the reason why, because when it comes to Psylocke, she's always down to do anything for Sinister. There's never any kind of complaints at all from her. And that really bothers the rest of the team. Anytime Sinister says, go do this, go do that, most of the team complains except her. Even when it seems like there is a possibility that they could die, Psylocke doesn't care. She's still down to always help out Sinister. Now, we know why. Because he's holding her daughter basically hostage as a way to keep her daughter alive. But the rest of the team does not know that at all. And so while they're trying to get information out of her, that is the moment they're actually shot out of the sky. And of course, they do crash land at the facility they had to go to get the ship that belongs to the nanny. Now, of course, when they do crash at this facility, they come to find out that this facility is actually being run by a group called The Right. Now, The Right is a very interesting group, but basically it's one of the many different groups that was made over the years by X-Men Comics to say, hey, we hate mutants, we want to get rid of them, so let's go ahead and actually try our best to get rid of mutants. Now, of course, with the Hellions actually arriving at this facility, they do run into some robots, and so you have the Hellions actually fight against those robots. Now, this is the moment I actually want to focus on a lot. And the reason why, because when it comes to the robots, they're killed off very fast by Nanny and Wildchild. Because remember, those two characters, they died in Arakko. And the big question was, what happens to mutants who died in Arakko when they're brought back to life? Because in Otherworld, you come back corrupted. But in Krakoa, you come back to life as normal. But when you go die in Arakko, you come back vicious. You come back like a killing machine. You're ready to kill no matter what is the situation. And so when it comes to Nanny and Wildchild, they're able to kill these robots like it was nothing. They were crazy fast and done in matter of seconds. And that shows when you die in Arakko, you come back like a completely insane different person. Now, of course, that is the moment we come to find out that this facility is owned by The Right, but also their leader, Cameron Hodge, is back. Now, Cameron Hodge has been around for a very long time, and he's the one who actually made the evil organization known as The Right, because he was a roommate of Angel back when they were in college or whatever. But of course, he hated Angel because Angel was rich, Angel had the looks, and Angel was getting the girls. But when Angel came out as a mutant, Cameron hated Angel even more and formed the Right group. Now, of course, this is his facility, and so now the Hellions have to deal with him all over again. Now, to explain more about The Right and Cameron Hodge, he kind of uses the ability of, not ability, but he does use the idea of God, saying that God basically gave him the chance to do this, that God chose him to be the one to go around to get rid of the mutant race. Like all that BS right there. Now, of course, while he's talking about how he wants to get rid of the mutant race, how God basically chose him, how God wants him to get rid of the mutant race, well, that's the moment you have Wildchild and the nanny just run by him, because they're like, you talk too much. We came here for one particular mission, and we came here to complete that particular mission. And so you have those two characters just run by Cameron Hodge to go into the base to actually get the ship that belongs to the nanny. Now, of course, this leads into a big battle between both sides, where, of course, you do have the Hellions fight against Cameron Hodge. And while fighting against Cameron Hodge, of course, you also have Wildchild and the nanny breaking into the base to basically find her ship. Now, of course, this battle does go on for a few pages, but this actually does lead into two big moments. Okay, so the first big moment all comes down to Empath, because when it comes to Empath, this is Marvel reminding us that when it comes to his mutant ability, he's able to make you feel a certain kind of way, but you have to be an actual person. And the reason why I say that, because you actually have Empath try to use his powers on Cameron Hodge, but the problem is, though, he can't. His power doesn't work because Empath was unable to actually find the mind of Cameron Hodge, and this is actually very huge. And the reason why it's so huge is because that is the moment you basically have the Hellions realize Cameron Hodge is a robot, that this is not the original Cameron Hodge, that this is a robot version of him who believes that he is the real Cameron Hodge. And so that is why Empath powers did not work, because Cameron Hodge is not human or a mutant. He's just a regular robot, and that is huge. Now, it actually does lead into Cameron Hodge, this robot version of Cameron Hodge, to actually ask the other robots to make sure that what the Hellions are saying is true. And so he asked the robots, is Cameron Hodge actually here right now? And of course, they say no. But then he asked them again, he said, well, do I look like Cameron Hodge? And they say, yes, you look like him, but you're not him. Now, of course, that leads into the next question, because when it comes to the robots, they were programmed to not kill Cameron Hodge. No matter what, do not shoot Cameron Hodge. And so to make sure that he's not a robot, you have Cameron Hodge actually ask the robots to say, all right, if you say he's not here right now, but I look like him, that means if you try to shoot at me, your systems will override your ability to actually shoot at me. And so he tells the robots to shoot at him to see if they actually will shoot at him. And of course they do, because he is a robot. He's not the real Cameron Hodge. And so that's how the Hellions were able to actually get out of this mess, with the death of this fake Cameron Hodge. Now, Empath dies because he was badly injured by Cameron Hodge before Cameron Hodge had actually died. So that means, once again, Empath will have to be brought back to life thanks to the 5 in a later storyline. But after that, we come to see the robots actually look at the mutants as friends, because they feel like they're finally free from Cameron Hodge, because Cameron Hodge, the robot Cameron Hodge, had them under his control, but now they're free and they look at the mutants as friends. Matter of fact, Havoc's kind of like, you know what? We did a great thing here. We let the robots finally have a life of their own. Now, while Havoc is becoming friends with the robots, you actually do have Sinister right now telling Psylocke to blow up the robots. And so right now she's in the command room getting ready to blow up the robots. Now, while she's doing that right there, that is the moment you actually do have Grey Witch walk in. Now, when he does walk in, he wants to know what she's up to, which of course she tells him that she plans on to blow up the robots. Now, the reason why she's going to do it is because she says Magneto told her to do it. Now, of course, we know it wasn't Magneto. We know it was Sinister who told her to blow up the robots. Now, of course, the reason why she says because those robots have the techno virus inside of them. And so those robots are beginning to evolve. And so they have to get rid of those robots now before things get worse down the road. And of course, she does kill off the robots. Now, you do have the team actually getting ready to fly back over to COPPA with the ship that belongs to the nanny. Now, of course, this is Zeb Wells kind of setting up things to come down the road. And the reason why I say that is because you actually have the nanny go to a different part of her ship. And when she does, we come to find out that she does have another child, and this child looks very unique. But of course, this child is an orphan, but of course, the nanny loves this child. And the question is, though, right now, who is this child? And how long has this child been on the ship? And what is the nanny planning to do with this child? But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.